Okay, as promised, we did the demo. Now it's time to interview the co-founder of NeuBird, who's created Hawkeye. So let's do this. All right, welcome to the Ravit Show. As promised, we are here at the NeuBird's HQ, and super excited to be with the co-founder, whom I met at in Vegas. Yeah. But then super excited to learn more about what's happening at NeuBird, and I did try Hawkeye, so I was quite impressed with the power that it has, and here I am talking to you about more and wanting to learn more about it.
Oh, thanks for having me. No, if you tried Hawkeye, I think your impression with Hawkeye would probably be the same thing that we have here every day. I've been in enterprise infrastructure for most of my career, and so I've done, in building products, you end up supporting your customers, and you live the pain that they go through with just overall infrastructure and application outages and unavailabilities and performance issues. And so you end up assisting them at, through all their troubles and at odd hours of the day. And so to see Hawkeye do what it can do in a matter of minutes is always amazes us. And I always like seeing that, vicariously through people that try Hawkeye out. So
Yeah.
I'm glad you had that experience.
Yeah, you're right. And I'm kind of also curious to learn a little about the inspiration. What was the story behind creating Hawkeye? Obviously, you mentioned about, various challenges
Yeah.
that you've seen in the space over years of experience that you have. But what was those gaps that you saw in this space and in the observability tools that led you to this innovation?
You met Vinod
Right.
at reInvent, and Vinod, one of our co-founders. The I'll get to the inspiration in just a minute, but both Vinod and myself, we share a passion for data science, just all the way from school, and also AI. But now going back 30 years ago when we were in school, AI was a concept. It didn't really have the horsepower needed to be able to run the type of things that you can run today. And so we did a lot of work around neural networks back then, but again, you couldn't really take it as far as you could take it today.
Right.
To get to your answer around what inspired NeuBird, we saw three things aligning for us. One is our passion for data science.
Yep.
And IT telemetry is all about data science: logs, metrics, alerts, traces.
True.
The second thing is we have battle wounds ourselves. We've been in the IT infrastructure space, and I've been up at 2 a.m. troubleshooting problems, looking at traces. And the third thing was that now, fast forward to 2024, AI is real. It can work. You can see all the things that Gen AI has done. And so when these three stars aligned, we were finally able to see light at the end of the tunnel to bring our three passion elements to a culmination: data science, solving enterprise infrastructure problems using AI. I think we know how to do this because we've lived through the problems. We know exactly what needs to be solved. We know what SREs face. And so
Right.
who better to go do this than us?
No, I think those are fantastic insights, and comes from experience, comes from the scars, obviously, that you all have had over the years in this space. But kind of curious, you mentioned about SREs, and I know for a fact where I did try Hawkeye, and a lot of IT teams are gonna benefit from it. So curious to know the impact that will simplify in the workforce. How does that work? Would you like to share a little bit about that?
Yeah, look, ultimately, what is the most important resource in an enterprise? It's your employees. And if they're spending time troubleshooting infrastructure problems and application outages, well, then they're not actually working on more innovative tasks. They're not contributing to your bottom line. They're not creating new applications, new products, new features. And so what Hawkeye will do is give you that bandwidth. It will let you go in and let your engineers focus on more important tasks, more creative tasks.
Right.
And our point is that whenever and there will always be problems that happen in your
Right.
infrastructure. You just can't not have an issue. But the point is, when you do have an issue, and Hawkeye can come in and resolve it in record time, taking hours down to minutes, that ends up starting to move the needle. Then, as an enterprise, you want to you want to be more aggressive in how you take new
Right.
technology to market. You want to be more aggressive in onboarding newer applications, and you can let your employees focus on more important tasks, and that's really what this allows you to do.
Makes sense. It's about the time, scalability, and obviously in the world that we are living, obviously the productivity kind of matters a lot when it comes to even the IT ops team or the SREs. So
Productivity and employee happiness, right? I mean,
yeah,
again, troubleshooting and solving an IT problem is not necessarily the most appealing part of anybody's day job. So
right.
when your employees aren't doing that and they're focusing on more creative tasks, then they're happier and everybody's happier.
Right, exactly. No, I agree 100%. Thanks for sharing those insights, Go. Kind of also curious to learn a little about Hawkeye's proprietary language that y'all use for processing telemetry data, which is unique, right? So, how does this enable LLMs to effectively analyze, the dense, unstructured data and provide actionable solutions? How does that work?
So when you spoke to or had the demo with Vinod,
Yep.
he probably talked about this language that we have called Rail. And so now
Mm.
here's where NeuBird comes in. LLMs and Gen AI are really good in creating content. What we're trying to do is create solutions, create a resolution.
Right.
And so there's a difference between creating content and creating a resolution to a problem.
Mm-hmm.
The novelty in what NeuBird does is we recognize that you can't just give like you would in marketing. You can't just give a reference document and ask the LLM to create another reference document based on some prompt engineering, right? And you can say, here's a marketing campaign I did last month. I want a new marketing campaign with these minor edits, and not a problem. Gen AI will do a great job with that. That's actually not the problem statement we're trying to solve here. We have IT telemetry, which are thousands of metrics, thousands of lines of logs in any given small window. And how do you take all of that and what are you trying to generate? Are you trying to generate a new problem? Mm-hmm. Are you trying to come up with a solution? What we do is we are extracting the reasoning capabilities that exist in these LLMs. So we present the data to these LLMs in such a way that we're able to extract how they would operate if they were a human IT engineer.
Right.
What would they do in going about debugging a problem? Breaking down a complex problem into smaller problems, and then taking a smaller problem and then figuring out what data samples you need
Right.
from it. Now, the language you asked about, we call this Rail, which stands for Raven AI Expression Language. Raven comes from the name, it's a bird, and so
Right.
hence Raven. But Raven AI Expression Language is a very specific language that's designed to instruct the LLMs to write code, to take the reasoning capabilities they have in such a way that we can surgically extract telemetry, make sense of the telemetry, correlate one piece of telemetry from one data source to another, and create a higher level hypothesis, a higher level thought process, ultimately culminating toward coming up with a solution. So, in a way, we are not using LLMs to do what's called RAG, retrieval augmented generation. We're using LLMs to extract their reasoning capabilities so that we can mimic the thought process of a human engineer in the field and
Nice.
come up with a solution.
Yeah, I think those are fantastic insights, and having like human like reasoning is like a game changer for sure because it just gives you more confidence, but at the same time, it's something that you feel like talking to, right? So,
It is, and we give Hawkeye,
yeah,
our SRE, personality. There's a persona
nice.
associated with it. There's a human in the loop. It will engage with the person that's interacting with Hawkeye. Look, there's three ways in which Hawkeye gets triggered. Primarily, it's an autoresponder. So people would set Hawkeye up to look at your alerts, outages. Integrating Hawkeye with PagerDuty is a common application. But when Hawkeye does respond to incidences, if it needs more information or input from a human colleague, it will most certainly reach out and
Right?
say, "I need some more information to be able to complete this thought process or come up with a resolution."
Go, how does, the security and privacy kind of is managed in this environment? Would you like to share something around those
Absolutely.
lines?
That's a great question because, look, when people are chatting with Chat GPT, there's some element of security, but you're not, subject to enterprise privacy constraints.
Right.
But when it comes to enterprise data, it's a different ball game altogether. One of the benefits in how we do this at NeuBird is we're not actually sending any of the enterprise data to the LLMs. We don't need to. It's not necessary for us to consult with the LLMs to come up with a thought process. We pose a hypothetical to these LLMs saying, if I were to be having this issue, like an application outage, how would you go about debugging this? And the LLMs, using the Rail programming language,
Right.
instruct Hawkeye in how to go about diagnosing the problem. In other words, the only person looking at the telemetry or your logs and metrics is Hawkeye, not the LLMs. So there's no learning happening on your data. There's no private information going to the LLMs. It's a one-way direction where the LLMs are instructing Hawkeye what to do. And
Right.
Hawkeye will go in and execute the queries on your telemetry. The other thing is, at no point in time does Hawkeye need to actually look at your application data. That's not necessary to diagnose the problem.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. Also, recently you all were named as the cool vendor by Gartner. So congratulations on
Thank
that.
you.
I'm kind of also curious to learn a little about the funding news, and you all going GA. I know there's a lot of things that happen. So would you like to share a little about that as well?
Sure thing. 24 has been a very busy, good, hectic,
Right.
productive year for us. So we're very proud to be a Gartner Cool vendor. Um, and look, this funding announcement is about us accelerating our momentum. We had a lot of good feedback and success from our early access trials during the year.
Nice.
We started that in the summer, and this. How do I put this? If you were to ask, if we were to have the same conversation last year, there were a lot of unknowns in front of us. Will the technology work? Can we solve very difficult issues in record time? And so that was an unknown. Midway through the year, as we put this out in front of customers and we got feedback from our co-development
Nice.
partners, they helped us build Hawkeye. The feedback has generally been that Hawkeye can operate like an engineer that has sometimes, in some cases, 15 years of operational experience and could solve problems that their colleagues found, really, really astonishing. Like, wow, Hawkeye could do that and this. And so what we said is, well, if Hawkeye is performing so good, we just need to accelerate getting Hawkeye out into mainstream sooner than we thought. We are fortunate enough to be working with Microsoft now on this.
Nice.
When Microsoft reached out to us, we were super excited to say, look, one of the premier companies in AI. If we can partner with them and amplify Hawkeye's, availability to more enterprise accounts,
Nice.
that's what we're setting out to do with this funding.
That's awesome. Congratulations on the funding.
Thank you.
Congratulations on, obviously getting out there to the larger community and enterprise accounts and partnering with Microsoft. So that's awesome.
Thank you.
One last question around NeuBird, Hawkeye. What's in the future? What can we expect?
Concretely, today Hawkeye is, operating in a mode where it will make the recommendations as to what needs to be solved. We will be releasing autonomous mode very soon, where Hawkeye will actually take the actions as well. Obviously, this depends on, this Gen AI in the enterprise is a very early space, and people are still trying to figure out how much to trust AI. So a lot of this has to deal with more than what we can do at NeuBird. It has to deal with where the general sentiment is around adoption of AI in the enterprise. Assuming that all of that goes as we hope it would, Hawkeye will be operating in autonomous mode. As far as what to look for in the future, look, Hawkeye is like any other engineer, will keep gaining experience over time, keep solving harder and harder problems. That's what we're looking for, where Hawkeye can solve pretty hard problems today. Can it solve the hardest of problems, the most difficult of issues? Well, I don't want to look incredulous and say Hawkeye can solve any issue on the planet, or as time goes on, as people evolve, Hawkeye will evolve and get smarter and solve more critical problems, and that's kind of what we're focused on. And that's what is ahead of us.
Which is good news, and definitely with over time we all evolve as tools evolve, right? So we're gonna see that. But thanks for the conversation. Thanks for sharing all the details. One last question, I promise, is if folks want to reach out to you, which is the best place? LinkedIn, X, where would you prefer?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, LinkedIn, definitely.
Yep.
We have Hawkeye has a social media presence. I would encourage people to follow Hawkeye.
Yep.
On social media. Hawkeye will be putting out routine newsletters.
Nice.
And what does this mean? It's honestly, it's not content created by us. It will be content regurgitated by Hawkeye's actual experience out in the field. And so, if you
Very
want to
cool.
see the week of an SRE through Hawkeye's lens, and maybe even have some stories, contributed by Hawkeye's colleagues out there in the field, follow Hawkeye. I think there will be some good information.
That's awesome. I'm going to share some links with them as well so they can follow that. But Gou, again, such a pleasure chatting with you today and learning more in depth about Hawkeye. For those who wish to learn more, I'll share all the links with you and even the announcements of the things that we spoke about. Thank you very much.
Thank
You,
you.
Gou. Thank you, everyone.